Still live. If anybody's wondering why I look so red, I literally just finished a workout and came here from a shower, so my apology. Nobody comes here for my face anyway, so let's just get to the art. Is there anybody here yet? If there is anybody in the chat, let me know how the audio is going and we can get started with painting. I could just scroll through different palettes to find something fun to start with. Maybe treehouse could be fun. Yep. Let's do treehouse. Not the painting, but use the palette. How are you guys? I'm gonna set the recording on. Oh, there's so much garbage on my table again. Yikes. Okay, I'm gonna cut this off for a while, and then I'm gonna use the new brush for the base because I really love working from something that is just not one single color. And this is a 2-color brush, so if I go into the color selection, this color has an impact as well, so I'm gonna set something else to it, and now just set this as the main color. So this is the base builder brush. It is from my upcoming dark fantasy art tutorial that is going to be released on Gumroad. And if you wanna grab it at sale when it launches, make sure that you are registered for notifications on my Gumroad page. You can just input the email there. I don't spam people with random emails. I only use that email address when I'm releasing products, which is like 5 products or something thus far. Or if I have a tutorial that I can send everybody that I feel would be useful. Those come only to people in the emailing list. Okay, I think this is a pretty interesting base. Maybe I could just like try spreading some different colors to just spark my imagination a little bit, because I have no idea what this is. Audio is clear on you. Music might be a little high. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I can lower that a little bit. So it's now 1 dB more quiet. Let me know if that fixed it. Shadow Chasers is saying, had to spend some time figuring out how to stop iPad OS 26 from getting in the way of Procreate. Wow, that sounds scary. I haven't updated yet. I hear all kinds of horror stories about the new iOS on phone performance issues, and that sounds super scary to me. This seems like a nice combination. This is why like having good palettes that you like to work with is such a good thing. Like when you don't have something in your mind that you want to paint, then like having these kinds of colors to play around with, I think that's super fun. Kind of like try and play a bit like darker top colors Maybe put some kind of like dark desaturated green in there. So I usually do all the dark greens on the lower half. Or landscapes, but maybe this could be something. So now this is so much more fun to start painting with than just a flat color or even a gradient. Maybe oily grit could be for today. This is from my oil process. Somebody else doesn't like OS 26 either. I found it the easiest to get along with when I set the multitasking to full screen only, turned off the menu bar gesture. Oh, menu bar gesture already sounds something like that I don't like, because I hate that, for example, the swipe up feature gets triggered when I'm using Procreate or swap to a different app. I never want to swap to a different app when I'm using Procreate. I wish I could just like disable that entire thing. Is that, by the way, doable? Since I know that like some gesture controls are editable, like could that be one of the features that I actually could control? Are we looking at sky, water? What is this blue? Space. Is that a reflection of something? There's a light blob. Of some kind over here. I think there was like interesting purple hue that I could just, it pulls me towards itself, so I'm gonna just play around with that a little bit. And instead of looking at the screen, I'm just looking at the tiny thumbnail and seeing like how these big brush strokes are affecting the entire scene. The menu bar at the top of the screen often triggers when you're trying to select tools in Procreate. Oh, that sounds really annoying. I think it's partly like marketing, that like they need to keep changing features and like keep teaching the customers to do new things, because then they can market those things and like talk about them. But if there are no new controls, then it might feel like to some people that new updates aren't coming or usability features. But I think it's always kind of at the cost of intuitive controls. I don't know, the older I get, this might sound like a old cranky person yelling at the clouds, but I just hate learning software. Honestly, that to me is not interesting at all. I think a lot of people, for example, come to this channel and they think that there's a lot of stuff to learn about Procreate, but it's literally like just 3 buttons that you need to know, like opacity, brushes, brush size, and then you have learned Procreate. There's like 0 program computer science crap that you need to deal with. You can just start worrying about your composition and your art skills immediately, which is the important part. Because every other art program fundamentally is the same. Like they have all of those same things, but in other programs they are just even more hidden behind these tons and tons of other useless features that have been bloating them over time. I think it's quite possible that at some point there will be a program that will be just as useful and simple as Procreate is today, and will just replace Procreate for some people if it keeps expanding and adding new features and things for those who just like to paint. Even back in the days of Painter and Photoshop, there were tons of people who would use just something like Open Canvas, just because it was more simple. Let's pull in some of these brighter greens. Just building up texture a little bit more. I want the color to change and be alive in every section of the painting. What other fun accents color are there? Like brown? And orange? Munchi makes, welcome. I hope you're having a nice evening or day. Here it's, oh my god, my hair is an absolute disaster. Is there a cat here? Nobody should be exposed to this. Okay, I'm just gonna let it fester underneath this fabric. Who needs hair when you can do art? Let's remember priorities, people. Just as a challenge, I'm gonna try to stay more zoomed in to full view for once, because I think that's gonna be more interesting for you guys to look at, rather than me causing everybody to have motion sickness all the time. So let's lock it somewhere around there. I've been doing so many boxes this week, you guys have no idea. Spoilers, the next video is gonna be about box rotations, and I wanna do like a separate notion about this like drawing exercise, because I've seen it like covered by a lot of artists, and the more that I have been kind of researching like how this part of art studies is usually being taught, I noticed that there's like a general like vibe online that a lot of people like absolutely burn out when they are doing this one single exercise. And I think it might be that there's this sort of like fundamental misunderstanding like how the exercises are supposed to be done and like when they are necessary. I think box rotations are super useful. I often do them as warm-ups, along with like all the other things that like I do as warm-ups, like for example just like doing scribbly lines. And when I'm painting, honestly, something like this could be a warm-up, like just painting whatever, and it doesn't have to turn into a painting. Like this could just be like a warm-up, and then I would be like, oh, these colors are fun, now I can move on to something else. Like everything doesn't have to turn into a usable finished piece of art. I think that's a very dangerous mindset to kind of like lock yourself into, and it's very difficult to learn anything if you always think that like, okay, this is gonna go into my Instagram page or something. Like that might not be such a great idea. I'm gonna color pick the canvas a little bit just so that I can, now that I have slapped in all of these like super bright and unbroken colors from my color palette, I want to make sure that there is like a consistency that glues these hues together. So that's why at this point it's a very good idea to kind of use your own painting as a color palette more than any actual palette that you might be using. Because you don't want, especially when you are separating elements into their own layers, they can easily start looking like cut and pasted together, especially if you're doing any kind of characters where you are separating pieces of anatomy or clothing with layers. Like especially those kinds of pieces have the highest danger of turning into like a almost like a clip art looking piece where every single element looks like it's done in isolation. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Shadow Chasers is saying, marketing is clearly a big reason, but this time they did make an effort to make their operating systems consistent across all Apple devices. Good goal, not great implementation. I also think that they're, like, I have no actual, information on this, but I'm just speculating that since there is already such a huge user base of iPad OS users, and they are used to a certain way that things are working, and some iPad users, like for example me, I don't use a Mac or like any kind of Apple made hardware, for example, editing my YouTube videos or doing any kind of color editing on PC. I have no idea how Apple OS works. Like every time that I teach concept art in one school and they all have Macs there, it's so like humiliating and painful to try to like do any kind of paint demo in front of the students when I'm always like struggling with my muscle memory and trying to figure out how those button combinations work on a different operating system. Let's add some light. Bigger brush. Hey Chad, loving the colors. What are your plans for this painting? Well, now that I'm adding this light, like this definitely looks like I'm blocking in a bird. I don't know if it's like some kind of a species, or maybe I could just like do a basic duck. But if you're asking for plans, like, then this is probably the first live stream that you have seen from me. I don't do plans often or well. I sometimes just like to wing it. I mean, if I'm completely honest, I've been doing so many technical drawings as like drawing exercises to improve my own drawing skills that they really take a toll on like the enjoyment of art, and for me it's really important to always like maintain my relationship with my creativity in a way that like art can still feel fun and enjoyable to me. So for that reason, I don't know if that's beneficial for the people that watch this channel, but like it's really important for me to just sometimes do paintings that I can do and that they're fun for me. Like not every painting is going to push me into being a better artist in a massive, important way. Some paintings are just because I want to do them. I think that's a completely valid reason and way to make art. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these exact colors that are in the palette. They just kind of inspired me to do this sort of like orange. What are those like legs of ducks? For some reason I wanted to say slappers. Which is probably not the right term. You know, duck slappers. The things that they are walking on. Slapping around. My second or third live stream I've got, but you are correct. I didn't know you had no plan. Suddenly reminded of a children's book. I wish I had a duck feet. I wish that I had duck feet. Why would you want to have that? I mean, I just think like generally the life of ducks seems pretty chill. I'm very slow at swimming, so I think like especially like just being able to like chill and glide over water seems pretty like fun. Oop. Maybe it's a little bit too much. Just a bit like fluff on the head. I should totally Google what ducks look like. Sorry. This is the kind of stuff that I should probably do before a live stream. Okay, I'm just gonna check what the beak looks like. Okay, so it does have that hook, and then there's a hole. Okay, and then there can even be like texture on it. The entire wing seems almost like melted into the body almost completely. I don't see any like detail on the wing. Ducks look so good, cute. Okay. If the sun is coming from the right, then the head would be blocking most of it, but then like this very tip would get sunlight. Does that make any sense? Maybe I should like curve it to show that it's also flat. I think that's pretty good. Is it slightly too sharp? I think there's also an argument to be made about when you're using reference like this, like for example with the nostril. I think it looks way more contrasty in the reference pictures when I googled images of a duck. But then there's like a certain kind of reference that makes creature or animal or design like identifiable and easier to read. And then there's the type of anatomy that kind of like is information overload to what the intent of the piece is. And I think when you're working and looking at reference, I think for that reason it's important to understand like what it is that you're looking for in that reference. Where is that round part? So it's like goes just below the face and actually like turns there. Sorry, I'm focusing on the roundness of the duck, which I'm sure you all understand is very highly important task. Okay, this is super stressful, so maybe it's better that I also do some like fun environment splotchy brushstrokes as well. Drawing rocks. Thank you. I read your name, Drawing Box, just because I've been drawing so many boxes this week. This is probably a very good duck. Maybe here I can hint that the different areas are separating. I'm gonna use this glow for the feathers to give that area kind of like an underpainting color. the sunlight that is filtering through these feathers is also changing the color of light. I'm gonna do one more copy and I'm gonna make it be the reddest one. First, drive it here forward. I think that looks okay. Could I go even redder? I'd rather go overboard than play it too safe. How many ducks do I get to paint this year? Might as well make the most of it while I have the chance. Okay, I think the activity level of the background water surface I cannot compete with the main focal point area, where I have already such simplified gradient shapes. So I'm gonna try and find like one color that I can flatten here, because I am explaining this texture elsewhere, so I don't need all of this detail back here. This part is just like intuitive painting. Like, I don't need a duck reference for the water part. I can just let the brushstrokes break apart into just madness here. Sure, I could like put some effort into making this realistic water, but I can also lean on the duck itself to tell that this is water. Because if the duck shape reads, then water is probably a close assumption that people will have. So I can just use that to my advantage here. Is this a separate layer? Okay, let's put it into lighten. I'm gonna keep my brush at 100% opacity so that I can make forward progress in the painting and not kind of just stall on decisions that aren't that important. What I do here probably is not gonna like make or break the painting. This oily grit brush just has that like very nice texture to it when you press more lightly and let the big brush strokes like have that texture that they have. You can like do a detailed painting with the same brush by just going lower in scale in the brush sizes, but I think it's always like best to use the characteristics of a brush instead of fighting against them, because otherwise you are probably just using the wrong brush for the piece. And if you stick to the brushes that you are using for long enough, you should not have situations where you're accidentally like picking the wrong brush for the painting that you are working on. Like you should know the general vibe that you're gonna go for, and then like it's not rocket science what kind of brush would be beneficial for that. Like this definitely shouldn't be something that takes any amount of time. That's why I think it should be everyone's like priority to find the kind of brushes that they work easily with and fit their natural style. Something that can enhance the kind of paintings that they want to paint. And for some of you, that is just the default round brush in Procreate or in any other program that you're using. That's a perfectly fine conclusion to come to. I want to make sure that this isn't accidentally single color noise, but multicolor noise. Upping the scale. And I want to have it only in this one area right here. There's a weird lump in the neck that I'm gonna try to fix. This duck book sounds like something that I would like. Christine is saying, I like the flappy noise duck feet make when they are walking, and I love how the magic came in when you painted the light in the bird's back. Yeah, that's pretty much when I figured out, like, this is a bird. Are you enjoying the new features in Procreate 5.4? I haven't updated yet, so I really can't speak on that. Have you guys updated to the new version yet? How is it? Sorry for this, I really need to rotate because there's no way I can make this curve freehand. That's a whole other level of art skill that I do not have. Sorry for zooming in so much. It'll be just a second. I'm just looking at how the duck's feathers kind of like change direction here. I'm not going to feather the entire duck, don't worry. Just in this one area where I can hopefully sell that effect for the rest of the duck. The weather is very fine here. It's small, very subtle texture, but I think it's safe to assume that people will be watching this part. So I wanna maybe like clean up the eye a little bit. I don't want to be too focused on making it round. I don't think it's that important. it looks fluffy. Really enjoying this swim. I'm not sure if it's like swimming or standing on something. Like maybe there should be some kind of like things breaking the surface a little bit, because I do want to see those little duck feet. I don't think it's important to have these on separate layers, so I'm just gonna merge all of those. I think there's already like some kind of beauty and frailness of nature that I like about the way that the water and the environment is painted. And I don't want to lose that by just focusing on these sort of details that are honestly just nonsense. I really like this one super like neon bright green that has been here. I think that could be like maybe somehow show a shadow of the duck, where would we go? Like somewhere around here. Maybe I can just like create an illusion of a shadow and that's enough. One of my concept art artist friends once told me this like incredibly powerful tip about painting shadows, like self shadows for characters and objects in your scene. She said that if you just do it confidently enough in a very like high contrasty bold way, then people are less likely to question if that's actually the place where the shadow goes. And I think there's something to it. I've been like thinking about that comment every time since when I try to figure out where the shadows go in these sorts of elements. I think I will like update to the new version of Procreate. Like usually when they release a new version, like they just did, there is usually like a hotfix that follows a few days after. And at this point, like I'm perfectly fine just waiting a few more days if one is needed, and if one is needed, that they do one. For me, it's also really important that I protect my artwork that I have already on this device. I just wouldn't want anything to happen to it. Okay, there's a weird blob here on the top left corner. I'm just gonna fix that. I think it's pretty obvious that like this painting is super easy to fix if there are like, for example, the lily pads. I think a lot of that is just like manual work in making sure that the round parts are actually round. I'm gonna do some of that in this live stream, but I don't wanna make you sit through like the rendering part of a painting. If I'm completely honest with you guys, I'm pretty happy with this already, so I don't think this needs to be a long live stream. Now it's not bothering me as much anymore. Just wanna like the illusion of this, whatever is reflecting on the water here, to make it seem like it kind of ends those reflections and there's a clearing of sky. I'm just using vertical brushstrokes here, and I'm constantly color picking the canvas itself. By the way, if you wanna steal this color palette, you can do so by just screenshotting it right here. The members have plenty of palettes that are gonna be putting in downloads. There are also the brushes that are downloadable currently. The brushes from the upcoming art tutorial, they are also already downloadable for members. Hello, Camel. And Bunny, the rabbit. I just love the way that the paint kind of bleeds on itself, sometimes like this. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I want the values to kind of blend together here and vanish that one line. Because the edges of this duck are so high contrast in many parts of the painting. It's okay if it doesn't carve out of its surroundings in every area. Do the same here. Like, even though this is the head. It's just the same brush, and I'm getting two types of texture by using it sideways and then just tapping it, and that gives the profile, like the silhouette of the brush. It also has its own texture, and it's a different kind of texture than the brush stroke itself. So I'm using both here. I like these marks for some reason. I'd love to be able to explain everything, but like then there are just sometimes combinations of colors, however random they might be, because so much of the beginning of this was just completely random. I think it's nice to leave it there, to kind of like show some of the history of the painting as well. Maybe this texture could be something that we see through these nearest waves when they're facing the camera, and we see through the water to the bottom of this shallow body of water. And it's just like one more way to give brushstroke groups that are different and give variety and just keep the eye interested. Like if you always like employ the same types of brushstrokes everywhere in your painting, the viewer kind of gets bored at looking at that piece. I think there's probably going to be like a new Sketch Club episode soon. I still have to do a little bit of planning for that. Also, I've been doing the final edit for the next video about this drawing exercise and how to do it. And to get that video out, I do need to spend some time also like editing that so that I can get it out of my hands and then move on to finishing the art tutorial for the dark fantasy painting piece. I'm super excited to also show that painting because I'm really happy with the way that it came out. It is kind of different to what I often do here on this channel, but it's closer to the kind of stuff that I've been doing professionally, like in projects where I've been a concept artist and designing the visual look of games. And I don't know, recently I just felt like enough time has passed. Now I can still do those paintings in that style as well. And I'm proud of those skills. So it's nice to return to those things and kind of like share that knowledge with others as well, because I think that's one way to enjoy art, is to kind of like share the joy of like and the knowledge involved in creating pieces like that. Also, I just want to like let everybody know that like that tutorial is going to be insane amount of video footage for me to go through. So please be patient as I make sure that it can be as helpful as it can be before it goes on Gumroad. Should I flip it? Maybe. I think the back could maybe use a little bit work, so. It's just a little bit more round. Okay. Just punching up the look of the sky by duplicating the same layer, and I cranked it up in curves and then set it in light and blend mode, added a black layer mask to it, and now I am just kind of like painting with white the areas of the sky that I want to be more bright. And if you think about the logic of reflections, the reflections are going to be more reflective as we go further off into the distance from the point where we are looking at the surface of the water. If you want to have like a full tutorial on how to paint water, like I have literally put in everything into this like one massive water surface tutorial that is already available on my channel for free for everybody. And there is like everything that I have learned through years of painting waterscapes in one video. Even though this might look abstract, like I am using those rules, like even still, like even in this painting, to give that the painting like that small level of realism. Duck moment. Thank you everybody for like joining this live stream. I know that I sometimes don't talk much when I go into the fast painting mode, but I really appreciate people like joining this. It means so much to me to see that there is a group of people that know that I exist and I'm making art. To me, just makes the work of an artist feel less lonely. And also when you make art, I think it's important to share that work with others. And when I have these moments when I'm like super happy that like something works, like I like my duck. I think this is a fine duck. Probably a very good duck. I'm happy that I can share something like this with other people, that I know that it's not just me seeing this. And I think that's also a big part of what makes art rewarding, is being able to show the way that you see things to other people. And I don't think that's like a skill issue thing. I think that's something that people of all skill levels can enjoy. This just adds like a tiny illusion of fluffiness on this end where I really don't have any texture, and it just gives the light a little bit more warmer quality. But I want to paint this effect into areas where I actually want to have it and not just like slap it everywhere. It's a subtle thing. Maybe like only if people buy a print, they will be able to see that. I haven't done prints in a while, maybe I should. I don't know, like if I did more planning, I don't know how I would advertise this. Like, come and see like when I'm painting a duck. There's no way to make that sound enticing. Sarah said that this would make an amazing print. I think because I haven't been like too fussy with the brushstrokes and it just is what it is. I think this could be a print. That's it. And that's the duck piece. Don't you just like wanna grab it? Just wanna like feel that fluffy surface. I'm pretty happy with this. Rögen is saying, is this Procreate beta? No, this is not Procreate beta. I am streaming by sharing the screen. That's it, and that goes to OBS, and OBS is sending this to YouTube. Thank you, Mumichi Makes. Thank you for joining this duck session, apparently. I really like those sort of like listening bits at the edges of those lily pads. These lily pads look a little bit more tattered than the graphic ones that I normally do, but I think that's fine. Maybe I should do like one more, like a sunken lily pad somewhere. Do I have enough layers to do that? Some kind of like a bits like this that are underneath the surface, and then maybe I could make that sink by making the color more warm, saturated and dark. It's like a very subtle effect, but it just like gives more depth to the surface of the water. Okay. Thank you for joining the stream. I'll see you guys in the next video. And if you want to check out the upcoming Dark Fantasy tutorial, like, please make sure that you check my Gumroad and input your email there, because the sale is only going to be at launch when that happens. Or if I release this or pending process, who knows, I need to do something other than just make videos as well. See you guys in the next piece, and I'll see the members in the next Sketch Club session. I've been really enjoying those, so see you there. Bye!